and welcome to Screen Wipe, or Willkommen aus dem Screenwipen, as they say in Germany. This is a programme all about television, and I'm your host, Charlie Brooker. Cheers. The 1980s were my formative years, and I was fairly convinced at the time, likely to be my last, because throughout that decade I was convinced that we might nuke the planet's balls off at any given moment, and I don't think I was entirely wrong.
Mr. Reagan was at the ranch preparing for the weekly radio broadcast.
My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
Nuclear-themed programmes held a grim fascination for me. Programmes like Threads, which dramatised the effect of a nuclear attack on the UK. Or this 1982 QED documentary called A Guide to Armageddon.
The film you're about to see shows what happens when a 1-megaton nuclear bomb explodes over central London. Everywhere inside this 7-mile radius, the effect on directly exposed flesh is the same. It behaves like the meat in the butcher's window. Animal fats melt and burn. Tissues are charred to black carbon.
In a way, it was almost reassuring to discover that the telly seemed just as concerned about the effects of nuclear war as I was. But on the other hand, well, the fact that it was being shown on TV at all made it seem more real and somehow more likely to happen.
Jesus Christ, they've done it.
Fortunately, today, thanks to telly, I don't spend my time worrying about imminent nuclear extermination. Instead, I worry about everything. The nukes haven't gone away, they just scarcely get a look in, what with all the other neat new stuff to be scared of. Firstly, there's the obvious stuff like terrorism. I was frightened of that back in the 80s too.
I was sitting in a coffee shop about 40 yards away and there was a terrific blast, and we knew at once what had happened, of course.
East London.
But in a modern 24-hour news environment where everything unfolds in real time, it feels more terrifying than it used to be. The chaos just unfolds, often unintelligibly, but always right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. 24-hour TV news simply exacerbates your sense of powerlessness. Oh God, not again, no, not again! Of course, the news isn't the only scarefest in Teletown. There's also the joys of the reconstruction programme, shows which delight in telling you all about nasty stuff that might happen, nasty stuff that has happened.
Unaware of each other's injuries, the crew starts to mobilise.
Sit down! Get back to your seats! This is a real gun, and I'll kill you!
And nasty stuff that definitely will happen, and will happen to you, you poor doomed bastard.
You're in your house, it's in the middle of the night, you're in bed, you're half asleep and you hear a noise.
By leaving the security of your room, you open yourself up to coming face to face with a burglar.
Put that down now! Put it fucking down!
The most familiar reconstruction show is probably Crime Watch UK.
Get him! Come here! Get down! Get out! Hold it! Shut up!
Crime Watch has been around so long it's easy to take it for granted, but mark my words, watch it on your own in an isolated cottage on a dark evening and I guarantee you'll have the most terrifying night of your life. What the f*** was that? Seriously, what the f***? Come on. I am armed. I've got a gun. Come on. Come on, show yourself. Yeah, ambulance, please. Hi, yeah, no, I've sort of blown my leg off. Well, everything below the right nut is just gone, basically. It's all a bit of a mess. Of course, when it's done scaring you with what the outside world's got to offer, TV's quick to remind you, well, that's nothing compared to the shit you'll inflict on yourself if you don't stop smoking, stop drinking, stop speeding, stop eating salt, stop not buying a smoke alarm, stop everything! Some people think it's all a conspiracy, that the system wants to keep you afraid so you'll stay indoors and keep watching. I'm not sure that's true, but then I would say that, wouldn't I? Ha 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 ha! I guess the thing to keep sight of is that things are never quite as perilous as TV would have you believe. I mean, look, this half of the screen represents normality, while this half represents rare horror. Which one's your eye drawn to? Which one's going to stick in your mind? All very well, but what am I saying exactly? Well, be not afraid, I suppose. Yeah, the world's a nasty place at times, but hey, we can change it, yeah? Together. Maybe if we look inside and learn to love a bit more and fear a bit less, then together we could... Jesus Christ, it's a mouse! It's a fucking mouse! It's a fucking mouse! It's now 25 years since MTV started, back in the days when cantankerous old men were still allowed to be pop stars, and computer graphics like this were considered cutting edge. Look at that, it's rubbish! Everyone must have been stupid back then. Anyway, today MTV is just one of many stations that squat around on cable and satellite waiting to crap music all over your carpet. Just like radio stations, each has its own target audience. There's shiny pop stations serving up an endless string of fresh-faced mewling little tits for the benefit of undemanding pubescents. Christ, is it just me or do McFly look like sort of Muppet baby farmhands? These poppier networks often feature the most startlingly sexual imagery you'll see this side of a bend-over video. It's really not good for me, looking at that. It's not. I'm not turning over until they show us a... Then there's stations specialising in shouty guitar bollocks for misunderstood teenagers who don't want to tidy their bedroom and don't care who knows it. Don't turn your back on me, I won't be ignored! Yeah, tell society where to shove it. Very expensive video, presumably paid for by the Absolute Bloody Subversion Corporation Incorporated. Students, meanwhile, are catered for with the likes of MTV2, which specialises in artsy alternative stuff which sometimes tips straight over into outright pretension. What's that all about? Huh? Finally, for tragic care home cases like myself, you've got stations like Magic, which specialise in blurry old stuff. Anyway, that's the sort of thing you're supposed to see, in theory, when you tune into a music TV station. In practice, what you usually see is something like this. It feels like adverts are on 4 times as often as other commercial stations. That's not the case, it just feels that way. Ding, 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 ding. Not that adverts are the only things getting in the way of the music. Increasingly, stations like MTV pump out whole programmes instead of music videos. Case in point, Pimp My Ride UK, the show in which preposterous wigger Tim Westwood encourages ordinary members of the public to transform their cars into gaudy, bauble-encrusted monstrosities. What is this obsession with bling, anyway? I mean, it's just, ooh, look how much money I've got, ooh, look how gaudy and shiny I've made everything. It's just tasteless. It's like wiping your ass on a £50 note in front of a tramp. It's for f***ing morons. Anyway, my favourite music station has to be Channel U on Sky, because it's the only one that seems to show things you don't see on all the other stations. And it feels to me, at least, like it really means something to its audience. Even if being a 30-something media tit myself, half of what they're saying sails clean over my bloody head.
Conk, cause there ain't no rules in the conking war. Everyone's involved in the conking war. If I see by them, then I'm conking the law.
I have no idea what a conking war is, but these young fellows have certainly made it sound jolly exciting. Anyway, there you go, music TV channels. They're like radio, basically, but minus the whole point of music, which is to listen to it, not look at it.
Sorry, madam. Whiffs a bit, doesn't it?
Fuck the smell, the toilet's talking!
Your loo is clean and fresh at every visit.
Ah, madam, take a seat.
Oh, madam, would you like to shit in my mouth? Ooh, Doctor Who! Yes, everyone loves the new Doctor Who because it's brilliant and one of the best things the BBC has ever done.
Blimey!
Don't laugh.
But with this and 60s classic A for Andromeda being remade for BBC4, here's some other old sci-fi shows you might want to revisit.
Ready for this?
First, Sapphire and Steel, ITV's answer to Who back in the 70s and possibly the most hilariously impenetrable series Britain's ever made. It stars Joanna Lumley and David McCallum as interdimensional irregularity agents, Sapphire and Steel, and those aren't just their names, they're what they are.
The clock is moving backwards.
Imagine sitting down to ITV at tea time Saturday night only to be baffled by this.
All irregularities will be handled by the forces controlling each dimension. Sapphire and Steel have been assigned.
It was also downright terrifying for children. Ah! Available on DVD, it's worth looking for, if only so you can go, huh? All over again. Next, Quatermass. Nigel Neal's bunch of classic sci-fi serials effortlessly shoehorned big concepts into compelling, populist drama and were clearly a huge influence on the recent Doctor Who remake.
It's out of control.
4 series were made in all, plus a recent live remake on this channel. This is the 1979 ITV version, which you might be able to get on DVD, although when we made this there were only 2 copies left in London. Finally, Day of the Triffids, the BBC's 1981 version of the John Wyndham novel, a hammy cross between Gardener's Question Time and Dawn of the Dead, in which the killer plants aren't as big a threat as us, twatty old mankind. It might look a bit silly by today's standards, but let's face it, there's not enough silly around these days.
Delicious soup. What's in it? Thank you.
If you think of the TV schedule as a dinner party and the shows as individual courses, then this stuff, this chit-chat in between, that'll be the continuity, those little slices of telly that plug the gap between proper programmes and stop your TV turning into a black hole and sucking you and your poxy mates inside. Will you shut up? Back in days of yore, when there was little or no competition to speak of, TV stations felt secure enough to pump out this sort of thing between shows, the telly equivalent of a screensaver. Before long, some bright spark figured it might be worth drumming up interest in what was coming next, and we ended up with this sort of thing.
It's entertainment all the way tomorrow evening on BBC One, beginning at 5:20 with Doctor Who and Perry continuing their battles against the Rani and the Master. At 6:05, Jim fixes it for a young Arsenal supporter to referee their match with Oxford United, but most of the opposition gets sent off. Then at 6:40, Little and Large.
You know, it's unlucky to put an umbrella up in the house.
The hell it is.
At 7:15, there's an emergency in 1 by 1 when Donald is the victim of an accident at the safari park.
The antidote syringe.
At 8:05 in Dynasty, Alexis finds a new man in her life.
I am certain this is going to be a good evening.
At 8:50, Bergerac runs into a problem.
Alcoholics suffer delusions.
I could have sworn he had a lick.
The entertainment tomorrow on BBC One.
On ITV, you'd often see actual human beings in between shows.
But now, memories from the past in Coronation Street.
But that couldn't last. As more channels arrived, rival dinner parties if we're sticking with this analogy, it became important to establish whose bash was which, and human faces gave way to increasingly sophisticated idents. Actually, recent idents strike me as the sort of thing some dystopian future fascist government might broadcast to hypnotise the populace. Recently, this identity crisis has become an obsession, with some channels being so neurotic they feel the need to sport a perpetual name tag. Not content with labelling everything until the screen looks like a logo machine's shat all over it, they start telling you what's coming next before what's now has even finished. It's like someone interrupting your main course to show you what's for dessert.
Yeah.
F*** off. All this use of graphics and quirky little films to give a channel personality, well, it's impersonal, isn't it? Maybe it's time they brought back in-vision human continuity announcers. After all, what has more personality than a person? Which would you rather see? This?
Next on BBC4, Harpsichord Challenge.
Or this? Oh, hello, you're looking great. Next on BBC4, Harpsichord Challenge. Coo! It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Woo, yeah! Coming up next on Screen Wide, it's Bison, Anthea Turner, Perfect Housewife, in which Charlie sits in his flat making nasty comments. Whoa, Jesus Christ!
You can't move for TV makeover gurus. They're rifling through your bins.
This is just bags of rubbish.
They're rifling through your fridge.
Yuck.
They're rifling through your wardrobe.
They make your arse look huge.
There's probably one standing behind you right now, filming the back of your head for a programme called How Shit Is the Back of Your Head. Go on, have a look. Have a look. Go on.
Ugh.
I think the burning question about all TV makeover gurus is this. If they've got all the answers to life in their pocket, why do they look so bloody unhappy? OK, look at Gillian McKeith, for instance. Christ, Gillian, surely things can't be that bad. OK, so your whole show's just an excuse for the middle classes to sneer at pie-eating chavs, but you can at least fake a smile, couldn't you? Actually, no, she can't. Have you ever seen her try to smile? She looks like she's trying to shit out a pine cone, which, I suppose, given her dietary advice, she probably is. While I'm shouting at sad-looking women, what about Nikki Hambleton-Jones, presenter of 10 Years Younger, the show that encourages you to take a surgical buzzsaw to your own face? She scarcely even looks real. She's more like a kid's drawing on the back of a spoon. How dare she tell us what to do with our faces when she hasn't even grown one of her own yet? Anyway, the latest addition to the miserable guru club is Anthea Turner, who appears in BBC Three's Perfect Housewife, in which she plays a woman who looks as though she's never managed to come in her life and has filled that void by becoming obsessed with cleanliness and order.
All you need is a system, a foolproof system.
Great concept for a show, this. Woman living a cushy life in a giant mansion berates a bunch of hapless ordinaries for their slovenly lives.
They have come to a point in their life when they've given up. I can't believe that there are jam jars on the table.
Yeah, mess seems to genuinely infuriate Anthea. She takes it personally and often looks like she's about to lamp someone. The trouble with Perfect Housewife is it wants it both ways. On the one hand, it holds Anthea up to be a genuine domestic goddess.
Housework isn't something you do in your spare time. It's to give you spare time.
And on the other, with its mock kitsch graphics and its tongue-in-cheek commentary, it's just taking the piss out of her.
Because we all know what's going to happen when an exacting Anthea sees crisps on paper plates.
So whose side is it on? Is it on Anthea's side or is it on humankind's side? Well, the answer is it's on nobody's side but its own. It's a TV programme. It's just going to sit there and sneer at everyone because that's what TV programmes do. They sneer and sometimes they just roll around slapping their bums on the sofa because they're so bloody f***ing pleased with themselves.
Gary Lockett takes on Ryan Rhodes, a live boxing on ITV4 now. But here there's some strong language in Parkinson.
Now here's comedian Simon Farnaby with a show he feels is much maligned.
Last of the Summer Wine is actually the longest running sitcom in the world. That's not just Britain, that's the world. And, you know, you would think we'd be proud as a nation of this record-breaking show. But of course we're not. No, it's uncool. It's for old fogies. Well, you know, good. I urge people, I say, go back, look at, you know, anywhere from series 3 to 12, and there's some absolutely, I mean, some brilliant stuff. You just had 3 blokes, Compo, Cleggy and Foggy, and all they did basically was wander around the countryside trying to find things to do before they popped their clogs.
Now, one of the supreme tests of physical fitness is how long you can hold your breath. And in the days of my prime, I could do well over a minute. In fact, I was very tempted to volunteer for a frogman.
You got the face for it.
Literally nothing happens. I mean, Samuel Beckett could have written it. And you always wonder, when you're watching the start of Last of the Summer Wine, what am I looking at here? Why am I looking at a load of trees? And I think, well, why not have a look at some trees? Trees are nice. And then the camera sort of pans onto our homeless heroes, because you never see where they live, these people. So they are essentially tramps. And you've got Compo playing in the stream there with his little boat, and then Cleggy philosophising, and then Foggy, who is one of the best sitcom characters of all time, has this incredible bout of existential ennui.
Oh, my God, I was afraid of this when I had to retire. It's so easy to drift into uselessness.
And his solution, I think, is just sublime.
I am going to yonder bridge. There I shall station myself in such a position that I can observe the life in the water below. I shall blend into the background so as I become as one with the stonework. And there I shall record in my notebook the detailed observation of the fish life of the stream.
What you get a lot in Last of Summer Wine, which I really love, is you get the thoughts that crop into your head when you're bored of all normal thought, especially from Cleggy.
I think ears are very interesting. Have you ever thought that if they were more square, how the corners would tend to cut the pillow?
You get these weird camera angles. There's one they use with a hyper-long lens where the camera seems to be miles away and the characters are kind of silhouetted on some horizon, but you can hear them like they're right next to you, which has this very odd effect.
When you come up here, you realise how small a creature man is. And you wonder why he should be standing on other people's feet.
Oh, sorry.
One of the many criticisms aimed at Last of Summer Wine is the acting style, especially where Compo is concerned.
It's grotesque.
I look at Bill Owen's performance as Compo and I go, good on you, Bill. You know, why not? I hope I'm fighting librarians, shouting, molesting old ladies. You know, at his age. He does well, especially after all the fags he smoked.
Oh, you must have lungs like tangled bootlaces. Lend us a quid.
You hear the youngsters, the kids, going, nah, I don't want to watch that. My gran watches that. And I'm like, why is that a reason not to watch it? Your gran's lived through wars and things. She's seen loads of telly. I think you should listen to your gran rather than your mate who watches coupling just so he can go and beat off over the girls later on. There's no eye candy in Last of the Summer Wine. This is not the land of the beautiful people. And good. You know, I don't need to see attractive people hanging around in front of my eyes when I'm trying to have a laugh. I want to see hideous old people who don't care anymore. Now that's funny. Maybe it is just for old people, but aren't we all going to be old someday, hopefully? And I hope that Last of Summer Wine's still around, because I think I'd like to spend my afternoons pushing my best mate down a hill in a tin bath on wheels. I think that'd be good. I don't know. Is it any good? What do you think?
Nah, it's rubbish.
Docusoaps have a habit of throwing up grotesque and colourful characters. Take Maureen from Driving School, for instance.
Whoa! Whoa! For Christ's sake!
She could have killed someone! Or what about that Lizzie Barsley from Wife Swap, a woman who looks like she could punch a train unconscious if she wanted to?
Don't give my husband permission to smear you new snooty f***ing move!
Generally speaking, the more hideous the person, the greater the level of fame the nation will eventually bestow on them. By which logic, it's worth placing a bet now on BBC Two's The Armstrongs having the Christmas #1.
10 years ago, John Armstrong met Anne, and it was an instant attraction. Joining forces in marriage and business, they set out to become multi-millionaires. Together, they've built UFit, Coventry's third largest double glazing company.
You know how everyone has certain types of food that make them shudder and go, ugh? Well, if you take that feeling and magnify it by about 1,000, that's what the Armstrongs are like. For some reason, I imagine the world starts to smell faintly of Scotch egg every time they walk into the room.
There was shit up the wall at sort of shoulder level. How do you do that? I mean, I'm tall, but even I couldn't shit at that level.
Anne is a sexless, slightly chirpy frump who somehow, visually, sums up the year 1989.
I mean, let's be honest, we're not exactly stuck in the dark ages.
While John is a sort of Tolkien-esque new potato. He also looks like one of those troll dolls. Together, they treat the UFit workforce with the sort of tact and charm normally associated with an aggravated burglary.
Fucking let him go. We don't need wankers like that. We got enough other ones. I can't
fucking believe it. Not that they don't try and treat their staff nicely. I mean, at Christmas, they threw them a party. And they got them all presents.
Look, that is going to be dangerous, because by the time we give that to somebody, it's going to be half defrosted.
Fuck 'em. Yet, despite their best efforts, the workforce at UFit are on a mental low ebb. So the Armstrongs decide to hire a motivational guru called Basil Meany, who looks like a cross between a vintage Radio 1 DJ and a haunted grandfather clock, and whose advice shines with a brilliant clarity.
You guys are on a pig's back right now, and if I were you,
I would be milking it for every cent I could.
Sadly, Basil's advice doesn't impress everyone.
What that Basil saying was a load of bullshit.
Before long, UFIT start losing staff at the same rate as the Titanic. Oh, sorry, all except this guy, Michael Handel, who, when he's not working at UFIT, is a World Othello champion.
Throughout my life, I've been pretty much defined by the board game Othello. I've got to ask for time off at some point so I can go and play in these World Championships.
Now, the Armstrongs is such a bizarre programme, there's been quite a bit of debate as to how real it actually is, and certainly some of the exchanges are so ludicrous, you think this has got to be scripted.
So if we increase our call rate, we've done what you've done without having to pay you. What was, and now what is, and is to tomorrow a new day? Yes, it is.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense to me.
And as for that episode where they went to France, I mean, God, come on, surely no one's that embarrassing.
Clip in all the way round.
Yeah, like I've always said, when you're abroad, continue speaking English, but just do it in the local accent. They always pick it up.
Aluminium roof, PVC, turnbuckle, cleat, bang, bang, bang.
It doesn't help that some of the shots look suspiciously staged. Thing is, if it's not real, it's a hell of an elaborate con. For one thing, UFIT is a real company, and furthermore, if you're checking out the backstory, a quick Google search throws up a site maintained by Michael, the weird Othello champion, on which he's written the following dramatic tribute to his favourite strategic board game.
Ah, what shall I say of Othello? This cauldron of revelling senses, this arena without mercy, without stain. The players shake hands. The clock is ticking. We dive into the clear blue opening sea, our destinies engraved within tiny black and white discs. Time slows, time stares, time shatters. The endgame erupts with a violent shower of crimson sparks. The game dies, heralding another breathless challenge. Othello, forever!
In the words of Richard Littlejohn, you couldn't make it up. I think the Armstrongs is real, but then my grip on reality has always been a bit lax, hasn't it, Marilyn?
Yes!
What?
Yes, it has.
What has?
Your grip on reality.
What's it been?
Lax!
I think I'm developing the thing that I ain't going to shit on nobody's head unless I have to. But when I do, it'll be from a very great height.
Well, that's it for our series of 3 pilots. Hope you enjoyed the show. I know some of you didn't.
Somebody called Charlie Brooker, and apparently it's Charlie Brooker's Screen Wipes. It's been on Channel 4. Somebody half respectable has given this hack some airtime, and now he's got above his station. I bet you he doesn't recall this. I bet you he doesn't see this come back at him. There he is, fairly talentless bloke, doesn't know very much. Can splice a programme together very roughly, and can poke fun thinking there's going to be no redress. Well, of course, there isn't on his programme. You won't see me on there again saying to the world how rubbish he is. Of course you won't see that. Charlie, I'm offering you out 100 grand in the ring, you and me, mate. Come on. If you want to waste a half an hour of your life, which you will never get back again, Charlie Brooker's Screen Wipe BBC 4. What a load of trash.